Thank you very much for joining us today, everyone. I see the attendees have kind of tapered off from joining, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Today's topic is over Roth conversion planning. Let me get this slideshow pulled up here. Like I said, today's webinar is going to be over Roth conversion planning. We really appreciate you spending time with us today to learn more about your finances and Roth conversion specifically. I'm going to be your host today. My name is Sydney Rutledge, and thank you for joining. Let's get into it. First up, a little bit about Bogart Wealth as a firm. So Bogart Wealth is the trusted advisor to almost 1,300 households, and we custody $2.8 billion in assets under management for the families that we work with. Our firm structure is a registered investment advisory firm, or RIA. The main thing to know about that is that we are a legal fiduciary, which means that we have to put our clients' interests above our own. It also means that there are no commissions or incentives for our advisors. The one and only way that we get paid is by managing our clients' assets to uphold that fiduciary duty. It also allows us to pivot more quickly because we're an independent firm. We do have 3 office locations, 2 in Texas and 1 in Virginia. I'm out of our Woodlands, Texas office. We have one in downtown Houston and then in McLean, Virginia as well. This is our wonderful team of advisors here at Bogart Wealth. We have many different advisors in Virginia, Houston, and the Woodlands that can service your needs. So if you are interested in reaching out to work with one of us, please let us know, and we'd be happy to set up a meeting with you. We have a robust team here at Bogart Wealth. This is some of our my coworkers here, and then here's the rest of our team. One unique thing about Bogart Wealth is we do have different departments that do specific things. We have a financial planning department and we have an operations department. So they handle our client requests for our advisors. We also do our investment management in-house, which is something that's quite unique for a firm of our size and something that we're very proud of. Alex Spencer is the Chief Investment Officer here at Bogart Wealth, and he runs his team of analysts. They handpick and custom tailor all of the investment portfolios here at Bogart Wealth. That gives us an extra level of transparency with our clients that most of the time you don't get with a firm of our size. So we're very proud of the fact that we do manage our assets in-house. One thing, if you work with us, then you know that this is that your financial plan is at the heart of what we do. If you don't work with us and you're thinking about it, we highly encourage you to reach out to one of our advisors. We would be happy to run a financial plan for you that encompasses all of these things, from tax planning to retirement analysis to estate planning. Your plan is at the heart of your financial success, and we fully believe that everyone should have access to it. That's why we do financial plans on a complimentary basis. All right, so for today's webinar, this is part of our retirement readiness series. As you can see here, we have a lot of different topics that we go into. Some of them are a little bit more pointed than others. For example, we do have educational webinars over NUA, long-term care planning, Roth versus traditional. Today, we are going to be focusing on Roth conversion strategies. And I will have a Q&A kind of at the end of the webinar. This is the agenda for today. We're going to talk first about saving and tax optimized accounts, backdoor Roth IRA contributions, and then Roth conversion strategies. Like I mentioned, we will have a Q&A at the end. So if you have a question as we're going through the webinar here today, be sure to drop it in the chat box. Let me make sure that that is open. It looks like it is. So like I said, if you have any questions while we're going through the webinar, please drop it in the chat and I'll be happy to get to it at the end. So first up, let's talk about saving money for retirement in qualified accounts. Qualified accounts are things like traditional 401ks, IRAs, 403bs, and 457s. The good part about saving in a qualified account is that your salary can be contributed on a pre-tax basis. So you save those dollars from being taxed at your marginal tax rate. So you save taxes while also saving for retirement. You also pay no taxes on the gains, the appreciation of the money in that qualified account until that money is withdrawn. You pay no tax on dividends, and most companies will offer a company match on your traditional portion of your retirement account. Now, there's the other part of qualified accounts. You do receive a tax penalty of 10% if the money is taken out, quote unquote, early. That age, as set by the government, is 59 and a half. So if you withdraw that money prior to age 59 and a half, there are some exceptions, but for the most part, if you withdraw before 59 and a half, you are looking at an early withdrawal penalty of 10%. And every dollar that comes out of that qualified account, both the original cost of the investment and the appreciation, is going to be taxed as ordinary income when you take that money out, and taxed at whatever your current marginal tax rate is. You also promise to take out every dollar during retirement. As I mentioned, the government enforces many things about qualified accounts, one of them being required minimum distributions, or RMDs. Those RMDs start after age 73 for some people, or age 75 if you were born in 1960 or later, and there's a substantial tax penalty for a failure to withdraw those required amounts on schedule. There are limits to what you can contribute to a qualified retirement account. This slide goes over those dollar limits. So this is the contribution limit for 2024 for 403Bs, 401Ks, and Roth 401Ks. For that portion of the retirement account, you're limited to $23,000. There is an additional catch-up amount of $7,500 for individuals over the age of 50. Now, there is a separate limit called the defined contribution plan limit, and you see in parentheses there all sources. What that means is that over all the sources of money that can go into your qualified account, that's your employee contributions, the employer match, any after-tax or catch-up contributions, the total limit for what you can put in 2024 that can be added to that qualified account is $69,000, or 50, if you're over 50, it's 76,500. So there are limits to the qualified accounts. Now, traditional IRAs also have their own limits, and those contributions to traditional IRAs can be deductible or they can be non-deductible. Kind of difference between those. So the limit for deductible versus non-deductible, it's the same. It's $7,000, or if you're over 50, you get an additional $1,000 for a total of $8,000 that you can contribute to a traditional IRA. There's no income limit if you don't want the contribution to be deductible. There's no income limit for that. But if you do want to be able to deduct that contribution against your ordinary income, there are income limits, as you can see in the bottom corner there. So deductible versus non-deductible traditional contributions, and the limits are fairly low, $8,000 if you're over 50, $7,000 if you are under 50. So on the other side of that is Roth accounts. These are some of the benefits of Roth accounts. When it's talking about a Roth 401k, where that's concerned, your salary is contributed on an after-tax basis. And the company match portion on those Roth 401k contributions still goes to the traditional part of the 401k. So only the employee's contributions are eligible to go to the Roth portion. Now, once it's in the Roth account, there's tax-free growth on it, which is why everyone loves Roth IRAs. So you get tax-free growth on those dollars in the Roth account, and you get tax-free withdrawals of your principal always. Tax-free withdrawals of growth, assuming that you're over that age of 59 and a half that's set by the government, and the account has existed for 5 years. So keep in mind, that's an and 59 and a half, and the account has existed for 5 years, then you will not have that 10% early withdrawal penalty. If one of those conditions is not met, either you're not 59 and a half, or the account has not been in existence for 5 years, you will be assessed that 10% penalty if the appreciation or the gains are taken out early. That's just on the appreciation or the gains, because the bullet point right before that, withdrawals of principal are always tax-free for a Roth. Another great thing about Roth IRAs is that they are not subject to those required minimum distributions. That promise that you make to take out dollar amounts from those qualified accounts, Roth IRAs are not subject to RMDs. And beginning this year in 2024, Roth 401ks are not subject to RMDs. Previously, they were. And the last wonderful thing about Roth IRAs is that your beneficiaries inherit them tax-free. Conversely, if they were inheriting a traditional IRA or traditional 401k, they would have to pull that money out over a certain number of years, and it would be taxable to them. With Roth, they're not. So they inherit that completely tax-free. Now, there are differences. I think it's important to clarify the difference between a contribution versus a Roth conversion. So let's talk about contribution into a Roth account first. This is specifically into a Roth IRA. So there's separate contribution limits for Roth IRAs versus Roth 401ks. That falls under the 401k contribution limits that we talked about a couple slides ago. This is specifically talking about Roth IRAs. Same limits as traditional IRAs. You have a $7,000 limit. If you're under 50, you get an extra $1,000 for a total of $8,000 if you're over 50. Now, there are income limits, so you will be phased out of being able to contribute directly to a Roth IRA if you make over a certain amount of money. If you're single, that's over 161,000. If you file jointly with your spouse, that is over 240,000. So that's contribution. For conversion, there is no income limit, and there's also no dollar amount you're limited to contribute or convert on a Roth conversion. The only limit that we kind of tell people is the limit is what you're willing to pay tax on, because remember, you're going from pre-tax dollars to after-tax dollars. And because of that, you will have to pay taxes on that Roth conversion. So the limit is whatever you personally are willing to pay taxes on, but there is no government set limit for conversion. And there's no income limit that phases you out of contributing or converting to a Roth. These are some reasons favoring a Roth conversion. If you think that income tax rates will be higher in the future, if you think you have a lower tax rate now than you will in the future, then it absolutely favors doing a Roth conversion so that you can pay lower tax now and then less later. Or excuse me, if you think tax will be higher in the future, you want to pay it now at your lower rate so that you can avoid it at that higher rate in the future. If you expect your income and your spending to go up significantly faster than the rate of inflation between now and the end of your plan, then that favors a Roth. Also, if income tax rates all go up in the future, then sometimes taxes will go up to balance the federal budget. One of the things right now that we're kind of looking at is, as it stands right now, if nothing is done, the Trump tax cuts that were put in place in 2017 are set to sunset at the end of 2025, beginning of 2026, and those will go back up. Those tax rates will go back up. So if you're wanting to do Roth conversions at that lower tax rate, 2024 and 2025 will be your last years to do so, unless they change something. Another reason to favor doing Roth conversions is if you will be in what we call RMD prison or surplus RMDs. This means that you have pre-tax asset values that are large enough that by the time RMDs kick in, you're going to be required to take out more than you even plan on spending and therefore pay taxes on that higher amount that you have to take out, whether you like it or not. Just because you're not planning on spending it doesn't mean you don't have to take it out. Again, that's that required amount that the government makes you take out. And also, if you anticipate leaving a large legacy to your family or other individuals, that favors doing Roth conversions. Talk a little bit about our progressive tax brackets and why that is a favorable reason to convert. So our tax system here in the US is progressive. So what that means, I'll use the middle column here for married filing jointly. If you have income of $23,200 or less, that is taxed at 10%. The range from $23,200 to $94,300 is taxed at 12%. From $94,300 to $201,000, that's taxed at 22%. So a lot of people say, my tax bracket is the 32% tax bracket. While that may be true that the top amount of your income is taxed at 32%, not all of the dollars of your income are taxed at 32% because those buckets are progressive. So progressive tax brackets do favor the traditional 401k because contributions are made at the highest marginal tax rate, and then withdrawals are made at an average tax rate. This gets into more about the Roth conversion strategies and talks about the difference a little bit between marginal tax rate and average tax rate. So you would consider converting your traditional IRA, 401k, 403b, so that's the pre-tax portion. It would be beneficial to convert that to a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k when retirement accounts are down, because then when the growth happens in the Roth IRA, all that growth is then tax-free. You got to be mindful of your current tax bracket though, versus what you anticipate your future tax rate to be. So if your average tax rate in retirement is going to be the same as your marginal tax rate is right now, then there is zero benefit to doing a Roth conversion, but there's also zero cost. If your average tax rate in retirement is going to be lower than your marginal tax rate is now, then there's a cost to doing Roth now because you have a higher tax bracket now and would be paying tax on that conversion at a higher rate. But if your average tax rate in retirement is going to be higher, then there is a real benefit to doing Roth because you would pay a lower tax rate now and save on paying those higher taxes in the future. Let's put some numbers behind that strategy about Roth conversion. So this is talking about surplus RMDs, that RMD prison that I referenced earlier. If you live long enough, you're going to end up with one of two things. Number one, a depleted IRA. You will have spent down those pre-tax assets. Or two, RMDs greater than your living expenses. That's the RMD prison surplus RMDs that I'm talking about. For most Americans, it would take a very, very large RMD surplus to make their average tax rate surpass their marginal rate, speaking to the efficacy of converting to a Roth because it removes those dollars from the RMD calculation and instead moves them into the Roth bucket that's not part of the RMD calculation. We did put together a decision tree, for that you can use to decide if Roth conversion is right for you. One of the main questions that we want to ask ourselves when deciding whether or not to convert to a Roth is, do we think that the tax rate will be the same or higher when you retire? That's what we kind of discussed a couple of slides ago, but it's the most relevant question to ask when deciding whether or not to pay tax now or pay tax in the future. And that's what this decision tree is based on. So if you think that you will be in the same or higher tax bracket when you retire, then the question moves to the 5-year rule that we referenced earlier. Do you expect to start making withdrawals after 5 or more years? If the answer is yes, do you have enough money to pay the taxes due on the conversion? If the answer is yes, then a Roth conversion may make sense for you. We pulled these projections directly from our planning software. We do a really in-depth Roth conversion analysis, so we can put numbers behind this Roth conversion and make it work for your specific scenario. So this is showing the projected assets if you do Roth conversions versus if you don't. So in this particular scenario, I'm down here at the bottom with this yellow arrow. If Roth conversions are not done, so this is in the base case with no Roth conversions, then at the end of this particular plan, again, this is a sample plan, the amount of tax-free assets or Roth assets are expected to be relatively low relative to overall net worth. So just 1.4 million out of a total remaining portfolio assets of 18.4. Now, the next slide is if we are doing Roth conversions. So this is converting through, this shows a model of converting through the 22% bracket for a few years here. So it's not the entire plan. You can see the estimated amount of conversion every year here. So it's a total amount of conversion of $1.3 million over a 6-7 year period here. The amount of tax-free assets then goes to 7.2 million out of a total portfolio of 18.4 million. So you can see just how much doing this level of conversion over a period of a few years impacts that number of tax-free assets. Same model here, but now we're focused on the impact of required minimum distributions or RMDs. In the base case, if you do no conversion, when you turn 75, which for most people is going to be the first year of those RMDs, you do no conversion, then in the first year of RMDs, it'll be about $380,000 that you have to take out of pre-tax assets for this person's particular asset profile. If you do conversion up to the 22% bracket in those earlier years, then your RMD at the first year is only $243,000. So again, this is a sample number, but it really just speaks to the degree in which doing Roth conversions can help you save on taxes in those later years because those RMDs are not as high. This is the impact on taxes, which is what a lot of people are focused on. If I do conversions versus if I don't do conversions, what is it going to save me on a tax basis? Here in this particular scenario, if you convert through the 22% bracket in earlier years, total amount of taxes paid in this particular plan is 2 million versus it would be almost 2.8 million if you didn't do Roth conversion. So that saves you about $758,000 of taxes overall by the end of that plan. So what Roth conversions do, these 0 years of taxes here in the base case, do it by doing Roth conversions. You're taking some of that tax burden and moving it up into those 0 years to kind of smooth out the increase of your marginal tax rate. This is the impact on the effective tax rate. Exactly what I was just mentioning was we're smoothing out that increase in the effective tax rate. In the base case with no conversions, you have really, really low effective tax rates through most of the early years of the plan, 0% in some years. And then by the end of the plan, it's all the way up to over 25%. In the case where you do Roth conversion starting earlier on, you do start out with a higher marginal tax bracket, but it doesn't go up nearly as harshly over time. And we still finish in a lower marginal tax bracket than if you didn't do conversions. Cumulative tax is what this chart is showing. So you can see the numbers here. Again, this is the same numbers, the same scenario, but comparing doing conversions versus not. If you do conversions through the 22% bracket, cumulatively, you make out ahead by doing those Roth conversions. You save more on taxes, you save more on RMDs, your marginal tax rate is lower. So cumulatively, kind of putting everything together, Roth conversion makes sense in this particular scenario. The last kind of topic when it comes to Roth conversions that we like to let everyone kind of know about is retirement savings outside of the employer plan. So this is outside of the 401k. This is contributing directly to a Roth IRA. Now, as I mentioned with contributing to a Roth IRA, there are income limits. So you're phased out to contributing directly to a Roth IRA. There's a workaround for that. It's a tax loophole called a backdoor Roth conversion. What that looks like mechanically is you would first take post-tax dollars and put them into a traditional IRA as a pit stop. Because remember, there's no income limits for making a non-deductible contribution to a traditional IRA. Then you immediately convert that money from your traditional IRA to your Roth IRA, and that's the backdoor, completely legal tax loophole. Because again, there's no income limit contributing directly to a traditional IRA, but there is for a Roth IRA. So if you're phased out, then you can contribute to a traditional IRA and then just immediately convert and pay taxes on the money that you convert to a Roth IRA. You can also do this within your 401k plan. Now, this will a lot of times come down to your employer's plan rules for your 401k. Some employer-sponsored plans don't allow this type of strategy. Some do, but there are limits. So it might be worth either sitting down with an advisor or contacting your 401k provider to see if the backdoor strategy is even allowed in your 401k. Sometimes they will allow for what's called a mega backdoor Roth. So there's backdoor Roth, small, and then there's the mega backdoor Roth, big. The mega comes in from the fact that if you do a regular backdoor, you're limited to those annual contribution limits of $7,000 if you're under 50, or $8,000 with that additional $1,000 catch up if you're over 50. With the mega backdoor, there is no, for some plans, there's no limit on the amount that you can do for a mega backdoor, but the concept is the same. So you make an after-tax contribution to your 401k, and it goes into the traditional portion of your 401k. Then you immediately convert it into either a Roth IRA or the Roth 401k portion of your employer-sponsored plan that gets it growing tax-free. That's going to wrap up the basis of Roth conversion strategies for our webinar today. We do encourage you, if you haven't had a chance to sit down to have a one-on-one financial strategy session with an advisor, we offer that complimentary. So if you're interested, please get in touch with myself or one of our other advisors, and we would be more than happy to sit down with you. I see some questions rolling in. So if you have any questions, we will pause for those at the end here. This is how to get in touch with us. You can call us or submit a contact request through our website. And that is going to wrap up the webinar portion for today. All righty, let's get to some questions. I see a couple of them. So I see one here that asks, is the MAGI limit or modified adjusted gross income limit or straight gross income limit? I assume what we're talking about is for the contribution limits for traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs. It is AGI, not MAGI for that limit. So that's the answer to that question. And then let me read, there's one more. So this is a good question. So what it says is, have you done any research on converting a large 401k or IRA, several million, to a Roth in 1 or 2 years? To do this, you might need to incur capital gains to pay the taxes. So as I mentioned, there's no limit on the dollar amount of Roth conversion that you can do. The only limit is the limit that you have for yourself for how much you're willing to pay in taxes. So, I mean, theoretically, you could convert. If your entire portfolio was worth $2 million and it was all in a pre-tax 401k, you could convert every dollar of that 2 million in 1 year, but you would have to be willing to pay taxes on it. And this person mentions you might need to incur capital gains to pay the taxes, i.e. sell other investments, realize the gain on that, pay taxes on it, and then use it to pay taxes. I don't know that I would go that far. Because then you start to cut into the benefit, right, of doing those Roth conversions. So that's a particular situation. If you do have large pre-tax assets, I think it would be good to have your numbers run. Let us do a Roth conversion analysis for you, and we'd be a lot, better to speak to your specific numbers in that situation. Got a couple more here. Not retired yet, but I'm not 59 and a half yet. Do you recommend that I wait until 60 before converting from 401k to Roth? So I assume that this means pre-tax 401k to Roth 401k. If it doesn't, clarify for me. Waiting until 60 before converting from Roth to 401k. Not necessarily. I mean, again, you will have to pay taxes on that conversion, but the whole question here is going to be, do you think that your tax rate is lower now than it will be in retirement? If your tax rate is lower now, then that favors converting, but if it's going to be higher in the future, that favors waiting. So again, specific to this person's numbers and their question here. What was the tax on Roth withdrawal again? No tax on the gains too. So you can always take out the principal in a Roth IRA tax and penalty free, always. Where the tax freeness comes in with a Roth is you have to be 59 and a half and keyword and 59 and a half, and you have to, the Roth has to have been in existence for 5 years. That allows you to take out the appreciation or the growth on the principal tax and penalty free. So principal can always come out tax and penalty free. It's after tax dollars. So you've already paid tax on it before, so they're not going to make you pay tax on it again. Principal can always come out tax free, but the 59 and a half and 5-year rule has to apply for those gains to come out tax free. Just a couple of more here. With no RMDs on the Roth 401k, again, new rule for 2024 there, does it make sense to convert to a Roth IRA? Can a Roth 401k be converted to a Roth IRA without immediate tax liability? Yes. So Roth 401k money is the same type of money that's in a Roth IRA. So there's no tax implications of moving your Roth 401k out of the 401k and into a Roth IRA. Now, your first question, does it make sense to convert your Roth 401k to a Roth IRA? That's going to be more of a question for your 401k, for what your 401k provider offers, i.e., is your 401k provider low cost? What are their investment options? For example, if you have a 401k provider that, yes, they might be very cheap, very inexpensive to work with, but they only have, say, 5 or 6 different fund options to invest in, then you might want to roll it out to a Roth IRA to get access to more investment options. So that's really the thing to think about. They're the same type of money, so it doesn't harm you at all to leave the money in the Roth 401k. It's the same type of money as a Roth IRA, but you might want to get more access to better investment options outside of the 401k. and we can absolutely share the presentation. I got another question about that. So just send us an email if you'd like the presentation. Can the principal come out of a Roth 401k at any time, or is that subject to withdrawal rules? That is going to be a specific 401k provider question. I know with most 401k providers, that would be treated as either a 401k loan or 401k withdrawal. And they might, the 401k provider, based on plan rules, might not even allow you to do that. So it wouldn't be taxable to you, but the 401k provider just might not allow you to take in-service withdrawals. All right, last one here, and then we're going to wrap up. If you move from a Roth 401k to a Roth IRA, will that restart the 5-year timeline? So if you have a Roth IRA open and it has $1 in it, that has started the 5-year clock. It doesn't matter. You could have $1 in your Roth IRA, and then 4 years later, you could put $1 million into that Roth IRA. At the end of that 4th year, so now we've met the 5-year rule, you can take the principal out, and the growth would then be tax-free as well. The Roth IRA just has to be open and funded for at least 5 years. So it's not every new dollar that comes in to a Roth IRA doesn't restart that clock. As long as the Roth IRA has been open and funded, even with $1 for at least 5 years, then you meet that requirement. Alrighty, questions have slowed. I think I got to everything. If you have any further questions about this topic or any of our other webinar topics that we have on our website, please send me an email. Please reach out to your advisor if you already work with someone here. We'd be happy to sit down with you or shoot us a quick email and we can respond to your question about Roth conversions. Thank you all again for spending time with us today, and we hope that you found this helpful.